Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your instructor, Mrs. M, and we are going to recap what we've learned before on what is business credit. Now, this is a special course that goes into what you need to do in order to obtain up to $150,000 in business credit without using your personal credit and using only your EIN number, your employer identification number. Now, we've already gone over what is an EIN and how to obtain one. So we're going to start here. That was in one of our previous courses for special, which was on taxes and how to build business credit. So you're going to have to start with understanding you're going to need your EIN number, employee identification number. And now we're going to start with what are the next steps in order to obtain up to $150,000 in business credit. For the first thing we want to understand is what is business credit? And we understand that business credit is credit that we actually obtain without using our Social Security. So when we look at that, we're looking at, okay, what is business credit? And it starts with obtaining credit in our business name and not using our personal Social Security number. And there's a lot of advantages to having business credit. And especially when you're looking at building your business even more than what you ever could imagine. And business credit separates you from your business. Your business is like a separate entity, a separate individual, all by yourself. In order to obtain business credit, the goal is for the actual creditors to make sure, just like in personal, that you're able to pay back the business credit. Your business is a viable business that is able to sustain itself in order to continue to grow and pay back any credit that you've borrowed. Now, if you do not have great personal credit, the goal is to get started building both, and you're able to build your business credit while you're building your personal credit. If you have more than one person that's, like on your LLC or something like that, you can actually look at building your credit and then worry about having individuals have more of a personal credit. But right now, trust whoever you have on your credit, on your business. Like if you're doing a managing LLC and you have more than just yourself, make sure that you understand that as long as they're on that, and unless they only have 10%, they have over 50%, they have more than you do. So always make sure at least you do 49-50 when it comes to sharing the responsibilities on anything you do in business. Now, when we look at our business credit and we understand what business credit is, basically just making sure that we're obtaining everything we want in our credit, then we have to understand what do we need to do in order to start getting started. So the first thing you need to understand is that when you're building your business credit, there is going to be three ways that the creditors are going to obtain this information. It's going to be the same credit bureaus that we use personally: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. But it's actually for business, not for personal. When you're looking at obtaining business credit, they're going to look to see if you have a DUNS number. So in order to get business credit, you're going to need your DUNS number. And that's through when we used to talk about doing, Duns and Bradstreet. That used to be what you needed for your cage code, but no longer. But you are still going to need that for your business credit, establishing that. So you're going to need an EIN number, and you're going to get a business Equifax number. And that's when we're talking about the credit reporting. As you report it, there are times that you may obtain credit and they're not reporting it on your business. So you want to make sure that as you get this credit, that you have your DUN set up, your Dun and Bradstreet, and they may require you to pay money to get that number set up when you're looking at reporting credit. Not when you were doing your cage code back in the day, about a year or two ago, but when you're looking at doing this, they are going to look at you actually perhaps paying for your DNB number to get your file set up so they can start reporting your credit with the Equifax and TransUnion and Experian. A great credit score for business is anything higher than 76 for the other through credit agencies and higher than 80 for Duns and Bradstreet. Once you've obtained your Dun and Bradstreet, the next is starting to establish the credit. So we want to make sure once we've obtained the Dun and Bradstreet that we understand now it's time for us to start establishing credit. How do we do that? Now, the first thing you're going to do after you've set up your Dun& and Bradstreet is to go and obtain a vendor account. A vendor account is where you're working with the vendor and doing 30-day net terms. That means 30 days. These specific ones that I know are Uline, McMaster, and Granger. They're the easiest ones. Now, you may go into your local store and you may have equipment where you need to rent equipment, and that may be the vendor that you can obtain credit from. But the very first stop on your credit journey is to get a vendor account and set up net 30 terms. Once you've done that, you want to make sure after the first month of your credit limit being three, let's say this is from $0 to $1,000. When you do that, you want to make sure that it's being reported on your credit report. It's going to take about 30 days for it to be reported. You want to continue to use the credit, pay it back, use the credit, pay it back. 3 months, which is 90 days, and this is going to get in the system and actually report. Now, so that means you want the first reporting to be a vendor account, and you want it to be 90 days out before you go to step 2, which is the next phase of credit. Now, when we're looking at a starter vendor account, we are looking at some of the ones that I'm talking about. Laughlin Associates deal with credit setup and compliance. They report to Experian, and they only require a EIN. They report every 30 to 60 days. They're really great. So is someone like Quell. Quell is a great place. They report to Dun& Bradstreet. It's very important that you understand that the true starter vendors are going to report. So they do officing, packaging, cleaning supplies, things like that, a lot of different things. So they're going to be really, really great. And you're going to make sure that you place your initial order first, uh, unless your D&B score is already established. So you want to make sure that you initially get your order and then do your D&B to make sure it gets established. You want to make sure that they usually give you 90 days to pay. You want to pay right away. You want to continue to use this for 3 months and get in the system. So that is how you're going to get started with these starter systems. The next one is going to be, after you've done that, this is another one that actually reports to D&B. And these are true starter vendors that get you going. And once you've done that, you're going to be able to once again get started and make sure you continue to pay on time. Now, after you've done that, then we're going to move to the next one. So we've got our vendor set up. Now we're ready for the next one. Now, one last one, which I mentioned Uline, they will ask for 2 references and a bank reference, and they are going to report to D&B. So you must have your DUNS number. And these are our true vendors. Now, once we've done our true vendors, they're going to probably get us up to credit, like I said, anywhere from 0 to 1,000. Once we've done that, then the next step is to go to where we actually get a credit card from our vendors. Now, we're going to need anywhere from 3 to 5 trade lines before we can get an actual credit card. So what we want to do is use the Quell and the Uline and all the ones we mentioned. Each one of those are considered a trade line. Once you have your 5 trade lines, you can then go to them and ask them for a credit card. Now we're looking at establishing credit between $2,000 to $10,000. So now we're looking at using our EIN number that we obtained this starter vendor account to move into actually obtaining a credit card from a lot of the starter vendors. Once we've obtained that credit card from the starter vendors, we then want to utilize this the same way. Wait about 90 days, use the credit, pay it down, use the credit, pay it down. Once we've done that, we then want to move into obtaining a revolving credit card for our business. Once we have our 5 trade lines, we're going to then go into the revolving credit. Now you need a score of at least 76 with your business from Dun & Bradstreet or Equifax or any of the other ones. I do not think TransUnion does as much as Equifax and Experian and Dun & Bradstreet when it comes to business credit. Once again, you're going to check, make sure it's being reported to. If you set everything up through Dun & Bradstreet, you should not have any problems. Once you've known, this has been reported to and everything, and then what you're going to do is obtain that business credit card with the revolving credit account. You're going to once again do the spend all the way down and then pay it up, spend it down, pay it up, and do this for like 90 days. Once you've done that and you've gotten up to 10,000, you're then going to move to your next level, which is going to be going into Sam's Club and actually obtaining a line of credit. So the line of credit is next. So your next is going to be your line of credit. And that is when you're going into Sam's Club or Walmart and obtaining a line of credit. It's still with the store, but it's a line of credit, not a credit card. This is where you're going to get from the 10,000 up to the 50, 60, 70,000. Once you've gotten there, Walmart, Sam's Card, BJ, that's where you want to go next because you've established the 5 trade lines. You've opened the revolving credit card, and now you're at the 50, 60, 70,000 with Walmart or Sam's. Your last and final step is to then go in and get a line of credit from your bank. Your line of credit from your bank is how you're going to evolve to the 150. Or you can look at getting a line of credit from QuickBooks. QuickBooks is another great place. So those are the 5 steps that you're going to take. Start with a vendor, 0 to 1,000. Then go to all the different starter vendors, get the 5 trade lines, do your Dun & Bradstreet, get established, make sure they're reporting. They normally report 30 to 60 days and then 60 to 90. Check to make sure they're reporting accurately. Once you've done and established that, then you actually go and get a revolving credit card. From there, you're looking at obtaining that credit that's like 10 up to 10, 20,000. Then you're going to Walmart or Sam's or BJ, and that's where you're getting up to the 50, 60,000. And your last step is going to a QuickBooks or your bank and obtaining a line of credit using your employee identification number, obtaining up to $150,000 without having personal credit. So I look forward to you guys utilizing these skills and these steps. This is your special bonus, how to obtain credit up to 150,000. I look forward to seeing you guys soon, and have a fantastic, fantastic day and a fantastic evening. Okay. All righty then. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.